The movie opens in retro-futuristic 1960 New York. At the Fantastic Four's headquarters, Sue is surprised to find her pregnancy test positive. She shows it to her husband, Reed, who is overjoyed that after 2 years of trying, their dream has finally come true. However, Reed quickly panics, worrying that the baby might have been affected by cosmic radiation as well. Sue gently consoles him, saying, "We can do this." The next morning, a special television program airs celebrating the Fantastic Four's 4-year anniversary. The host, Ted, recounts the team's origins, how 4 astronauts, spearheaded by Dr. Reed Richards, set out to explore outer space in search of Earth-like planets. The crew consisted of Reed, Sue, Sue's younger brother Johnny, and Reed's close friend Ben. But during their expedition, they were struck by a cosmic storm that altered their DNA, granting each of them superhuman powers. Reed gained the ability to stretch his body in impossible ways, becoming Mr. Fantastic. Sue acquired the ability to turn invisible and project powerful force fields. Johnny discovered he could engulf himself in flames and control fire. Ben was transformed into a rock-like powerhouse with immense strength. Over the years, the Fantastic Four defended New York City from countless threats, defeating foes such as the Mole Man, the Mad Thinker when he tried to sabotage the New York City, the Red Ghost, and many others. Reed even proved the existence of parallel Earths, while Sue negotiated a historic charter with Mole Man for peaceful coexistence with his underground kingdom, Subterranea. Today, they stand as true heroes of New York. As night falls, Johnny and Ben prepare dinner with the help of their smart robot, Herbie. They wait for Sue and Reed, who join them a few minutes later. Johnny immediately notices their awkward expressions and asks what kept them upstairs so long. When they dodge the question, Ben bluntly asks Sue, "Are you pregnant?" Sue, surprised, admits yes, and asks how he knew. Ben chuckles and replies, "Just look at your husband's face." He can't keep a secret. Johnny is overjoyed for his sister and Reed. Soon, news outlets pick up the story, announcing that a new member of the Fantastic Four is on the way. Over the next few months, the team transforms the headquarters into a baby-safe zone, installing alarms, setting up baby gates, and shopping for baby clothes. Reed attempts ultrasound to check for any anomalies, but it's too early for conclusive results. Just then, Johnny bursts in, eager to share his thoughts on new spacesuit designs. Reed, clearly overwhelmed, tells him he has too much on his plate, which disappoints Johnny. Reed explains that he has been experimenting with a new bridge teleportation system and demonstrates the process to Johnny. But the test consumes too much power, overloading the system and causing a blackout. Johnny groans, heading off to reset the circuit breaker. An hour later, Sue is looking for her husband when she spots Herbie assembling the crib. Sue eventually finds Reed and asks him about the crib. Reed tells her, "Anyone can build a crib, but only I can build this machine. It will tell us whether the baby has any anomaly for sure." Sue gently interrupts, reminding him that they've already run tests. Then she takes his hand, places it on her stomach, and with her power shows Reed that they have a perfectly normal baby. That afternoon, Ben buys some cookies at Macy's for Sue. On the way back, a bunch of kids inside the school gate ask Ben to lift a car. He lifts it easily to cheer them up. Shortly after, their teacher Rachel tells the students to go back inside. She comes out and greets Ben. She introduces herself as Rachel, and Ben does too, but Rachel tells him she already knows who he is. Then Rachel asks him, "You grew up near here, didn't you?" He points to the building beside them. Then, wistfully, he tells her that nothing has changed. Not even the Macy's cookies, which he used to steal when he was younger. Rachel then asks him to come visit the school sometime, and he agrees. That night, Ben and Johnny prepare dinner. Ben notices Johnny looking upset and says, "Judging by your expression, your meeting with Reed didn't go well." Johnny insists he's fine, but Ben reassures him, "We'll go back to space one day. We know how much you love it." Suddenly, police sirens wail outside. Reed reassures them not to worry, explaining that he has been working with the authorities to track several dangerous criminal organizations. Ben mutters with a grin, "He baby-proofed the entire world." Just as they're about to sit down for dinner, the sky ignites with fire. Johnny soars into the sky and spots a mysterious woman on a silver surfboard. Meanwhile, the other members also arrive in Times Square. The woman descends and asks the Fantastic Four, "Are you the protectors of this world?" They answer yes. She tells them, "Then hear me. Your world is marked for death. It will be consumed by the devourer, and there are no forces that can stop him. Hold close your loved ones, for I herald his beginning. I herald your end, and I herald Galactus." The mysterious woman takes off, and Johnny follows her into the sky. She turns to him, utters a strange phrase, and with a single strike knocks him down. At the headquarters, Ben scratches his head and wonders aloud, who is Galactus, and how the heck can someone consume a whole planet? Reed throws himself into research. Soon, he discovers that 5 planets have recently disappeared, wiped clean from existence. He explains that the planets weren't chosen at random. They were selected with great care, almost targeted. He adds that traces of the Herald's energy signature have been found on all those destroyed planets. As the weight of the situation sinks in, Reed declares that they must go to Galactus himself and find a way to destroy him before he reaches Earth. Ben interrupts, informing them that the Herald had spoken to him directly, in her own language. Curious, the team asks what she said. Ben shrugs. "I didn't understand the words, but it sounded warm, and when I looked at her up close, she was beautiful." The others stare at him in silence until Johnny relents and says, "I get it. Johnny loves space. Johnny loves women." And then there's a literal naked space woman on a surfboard, and Johnny thought they had a moment. Ben quips, Ben loves when Johnny speaks in third person. But Johnny doesn't give up. He starts digging through old recordings of interstellar language transmissions. When Sue walks into the room, Johnny proudly explains that he found one disc with a recording nearly identical to the Herald's native language. Later, Reed unveils new suits designed for the team, sleek, reinforced, and equipped with advanced tech. Johnny smiles brightly and thanks Reed. Before their mission into space to confront Galactus, the Fantastic Four make a statement to the public. They will defend Earth no matter the cost. Humanity entrusted them with that responsibility, and they will not fail, even against the cosmic threat of Galactus. Afterward, Ben tells Reed, "The suit looks terrific." Reed nods and admits, "I made sure to prepare it with extra care this time. I don't want what happened 4 years ago to happen again."
Anomalous.
Ben grips his shoulder. "Stop blaming yourself, Stretch. No one could have predicted that storm." The next morning, the Fantastic Four don their new suits and board their ship with Herbie, assisting at their side. The launch is flawless. Once in orbit, Ben locks the ship into the faster-than-light drive, and the ship leaps into deep space, inching closer to Galactus's location. Reed tells the team that he traced the Herald's energy signature to the planet LHS-275. They spot the planet and approach, but the closer they get, the more they see it being torn apart. Then Reed tells Ben to disengage the ship from the FTL drive. After some careful maneuvering through drifting debris, Sue uses her powers to cloak their ship. Hidden, they witness the planet's final destruction, its core collapsing as an immense force consumes it. Suddenly, a massive tractor beam locks onto their vessel and pulls them aboard Galactus's ship. A sweeping light scans the team, lingering for a moment over Sue's unborn child. The Herald appears. Ben smirks and mutters, "Johnny, your girlfriend's back." But her face is solemn. "Galactus would like to see you all," she says. "You shouldn't have come." They disembark, and Reed quickly orders Herbie to take samples of the alien environment. The team asks the Herald what Galactus wants. "He doesn't want," she replies. "He feeds." Sue presses her. "How does he choose which planet to destroy?" The Herald replies, "He doesn't." "I do." Johnny follows her, curiosity burning. "What did you say to me the last time we met?" he asks. She answers quietly, "It is a blessing in my tongue. It means, die with yours." Johnny rejoins the team. Finally, the Fantastic Four meet Galactus, a colossal being taller than any skyscraper, his presence both godlike and terrifying. He explains that billions of years ago he was a man from another world until an eternal cosmic hunger transformed him into the entity he is today. Galactus gives the team an ultimatum: surrender the unborn child, who is destined to inherit his cosmic power and one day bear his cursed throne, or he will destroy Earth. Reed insists that the baby is normal, but Galactus reveals that the child secretly carries immense cosmic power and is hiding it from them. At that moment, Sue goes into labor. Reed and the team refuse to hand over the child, prompting Galactus to vow the destruction of Earth while the baby watches. The team scrambles back toward their ship as Sue writhes in labor. Ben takes the helm, desperately trying to ready the FTL drive. Just then, the Herald reaches for the child. Ben slams the controls. The ship tears into faster-than-light travel, leaping into another universe. Yet even across the cosmic abyss, the Herald pursues. Reed notices a neutron star ahead, essentially a black hole. He quickly tells Ben to drop them out of FTL there. The team raises concerns, but Reed urges them to trust him. He explains that the black hole's intense gravity creates time dilation. If the Herald gets caught inside, it will take her a month to escape. Reed instructs Sue to make their ship invisible. She strains, channeling her energy to cloak the vessel. The plan succeeds. At that moment, Sue cries out in agony. Reed rushes to her side. "It's time," he says softly, holding her hand. Meanwhile, Ben grimly reports that the ship is running out of fuel. He suggests using the star's gravitational draft to slingshot themselves forward, stealing orbital momentum. Reed calculates they'll need to accelerate to 0.87, the speed of light. He turns back to Sue, while Ben and Johnny man the controls. Through sweat and fire, the team stabilizes the ship. Moments later, Sue gives birth to a baby boy, Franklin Richards. They return to Earth, where a month has passed. New York erupts in celebration, cheering the Fantastic Four and welcoming the newborn with bright smiles and applause. Reed takes the stage to address the crowd. A reporter shouts, "How did you defeat Galactus?" Reed meets their gaze. "We didn't. We tried to negotiate, but Galactus asked too high a price." "What price?" another reporter presses. "Our child." "In exchange for sparing the Earth." The crowd gasps. A voice rises. "Are we safe now?" Reed hesitates, then answers honestly, "I don't know." Meanwhile, far away, the Herald finally tears free of the neutron star's pull. She approaches Galactus and apologizes for her failure. But Galactus's voice is iron. "Bring me the child. He carries the power to absorb my hunger. Only through him may I finally rest." At the Fantastic Four headquarters, the team debates endlessly, but every theory on defeating Galactus collapses under its own weight. Reed admits he has analyzed samples taken from Galactus's ship, materials that predate their universe and reality itself. He confesses it could take 10 years to even begin to understand Galactus's existence. And worse, he doesn't know how Franklin could possibly be his successor when every test shows that Franklin was perfectly normal. Later, Johnny plays back his helmet recording of the Herald for Sue. He explains that he now has a fully translated sentence. Sue suggests that Reed could build an algorithm to find the pattern, but Johnny tells her he's busy and will decode it himself. In the meantime, Reed runs more tests on Franklin, desperate for answers. Again, no anomaly appears. Meanwhile, anger boils in the streets of New York. Protesters swarm outside the Fantastic Four's headquarters, shouting for the team to hand over the baby to save Earth. Each day, the crowds grow louder, angrier, and more desperate. As the team struggles to console the people outside, Reed points out that the public is afraid, and understandably so. With no workable plan in place, handing over the baby seems, to many, the most reasonable option. Mathematically sound, ethically grounded, and practically achievable. Sue stares at him, horrified by his cold phrasing. "You're talking about our child like he's a formula." Reed, pained, promises, "I won't give Franklin to Galactus." But Sue shakes her head. "I know you, Reed. You've thought about it." Reed admits that imagining the worst is simply how he prepares for it. Her eyes fill with tears. "Sometimes you being you hurts me." In the silence that follows, Sue tells Reed, "We might not know what Franklin is or what he might become, but I'm not giving him up." Sue steps outside and faces the restless crowd of New Yorkers. Cradling her infant son Franklin, she begins to speak. She introduces him, then opens up about her past. How a tragic car accident claimed her mother, how she and Johnny grew up in a broken home, and how their father, though far from perfect, wanted nothing more than for them to remain together. "That's what family is," she says softly. "And the four of us," she continues, "have all of you. Sue's voice trembles with memory. My mother used to tell me, Susie, for you, I'd move heaven and earth. And now I say this. I will not sacrifice my child for the world, nor will I sacrifice the world for my child. I promise to fight, for both. The crowd applauds and watches as she steps back inside the headquarters. Reed greets her with a rare smile. You just solved it, he says. When you said, move heaven and earth, that's the answer. I've been working on my bridge teleportation technique. With it, we can move Earth to a place where Galactus will never find it. Reed demonstrates his prototype to the world. The news anchor explains the scale of the task. We must build bridge networks spanning the entire globe. These will shift Earth across the stars to a point where it would take Galactus billions of years to locate. And so, the world unites. Cities across continents begin constructing the massive energy bridges. Meanwhile, Johnny continues deciphering the Herald's language, building an algorithm to decode her transmissions. When Reed tests the teleportation system, the circuits overload. He admits grimly to Sue, this process consumes enormous amounts of power. The government responds with a drastic solution, a worldwide curfew and total power shutdown to store energy. Finally, Johnny cracks the Herald's language. Excited, he rushes to tell Reed, only to be waved off. Reed tells him to come and sit down as they are about to move the planet. But before the final activation, the Herald appears. In a blur of silver and light, she smashes through the global bridges at blinding speed. Johnny rushes to Times Square to protect the last standing bridge. There, he plays the space transmissions received from the Herald's planet. Shalabel, Johnny calls out. That's your name. She stares at him, stunned. Johnny continues. In her own language, he explains that he found 23 old transmissions in her language, all traced back to her homeworld, Zenla. He reveals what he learned. She was once an astronaut or scientist who sacrificed herself to Galactus to save her planet. Johnny says, they're still looking for you to thank you for saving their planet. Then he shows her the records of planets she's destroyed, even ones that begged for mercy. Shalabal, crushed by guilt, flees. Johnny follows. I just want to save my world like you saved yours, he pleads. Shalabal shakes her head. Then give him the child. If Franklin were older, he would have sacrificed himself like me. Johnny refuses. No, take me instead. It is not your sacrifice to make, Shalabal says sadly. Take the child and leave. And in time, maybe forgive yourselves for running. Back at headquarters, the team praises Johnny's effort, but he shakes his head. Does it matter? Then he asks Reed, are we leaving? Reed answers firmly, no. Looking at Franklin, an idea sparks in Reed's mind. Reed tells the others, we have to bring Galactus here. With one bridge left at Times Square, we've got to lure Galactus inside the bridge, and we will be able to keep the portal open for 37 seconds, and without his ship, he'll be stranded in an alien universe. Ben asks how they'll draw him to Times Square. Reed admits he doesn't know until Sue meets his eyes. She looks at her child. You do know. It has to be Franklin. Reed nods, though his voice breaks. Yes. Ben and Johnny explode in protest, but Reed insists that it's the only plan that can work. That night, Sue takes Franklin for a quiet walk. Reed joins her. He tries to reassure her. I won't let anything happen to Franklin. The next day, Reed unveils a special carrier for Franklin, reinforced with radiation shielding. Ben notes grimly that any path Galactus takes through the middle of New York could devastate the city and put countless lives at risk. Sue comes up with a plan to protect the people. She reaches out to the Mole Man and secures his help. His underground kingdom of Subterranea will house the people safely. And so, the evacuation begins. Millions of New Yorkers descend into the depths. A news broadcast informs the public that Galactus has passed Mars, signaling that he is drawing closer to Earth. That night, Ben spots Rachel at a synagogue and goes inside to meet her. She greets him warmly and asks if he's come for spiritual guidance. Ben shakes his head with a small smile. I just came to see you. The next morning, the team carefully places Franklin into his specially designed carrier. They take their positions. Suddenly, the ground shakes. Galactus lands on Earth, his massive form crushing buildings beneath his feet. The team springs into action, creating distractions while Johnny carries Franklin safely toward their home. Galactus approaches the carrier, but he pauses just before triggering the bridge. He scans, detecting Franklin, and turns his attention toward the Fantastic Four headquarters. They try to stop him, but his strength is overwhelming. He hurls Ben across the space, only for Johnny to catch him just in time. Galactus also hurls the car Sue had been driving. Reed leaps onto Galactus in an attempt to stop him, but Galactus easily seizes Reed and stretches his body with immense force. From above, Johnny and Ben coordinate to save him, and they end up saving Reed. But Galactus seizes Franklin. Sue hears her baby's cries and springs into action. Using her force field powers, she pushes him toward the bridge, aided by Ben. She manages to shove him into the portal while Reed saves Franklin from Galactus. As Galactus attempts to get out of the portal, Johnny prepares to sacrifice himself to stop him. But in a flash, Shalla-Bal intervenes. She knocks Johnny aside and pushes Galactus into the portal. The team rushes to Sue, but they find her collapsed, having given everything to save Franklin. Their hearts sink. Then, a tiny cry pierces the air. Franklin stirs, reaching for his mother. Reed places him gently on Sue's chest, and Franklin channels his powers. Miraculously, Sue stirs, her life restored by Franklin. At the ceremony afterward, Sue and Reed are presented with a new suit for Franklin, marked with the number 5. They laugh nervously, thinking it's far too early. So the Fantastic Four make their escape through a side exit. Light-hearted chaos breaking out as the three of them argue over securing Franklin's crib into the car seat. 4 years later, Sue is reading the now-toddler Franklin a story. She goes into the kitchen to get a drink and comes back to find a stranger in the room, now standing next to her son. A figure wearing a green cloak and holding a metal mask. Dr. Doom has arrived.